My music used to sound like this. 365 days later, this is what my music sounds like. A year ago, I left Canada to learn music production in LA for an entire year. And I was really delulu because tell me why I've never made a full track before on my application. And I was like, yeah, I can make 3 full tracks. And it was one of the biggest risks I've ever taken in my 20s. I'm touring the place. Very exciting. The first few weeks were really hard because I wasn't a music kid growing up. So it's a lot of fundamentals. My ears weren't really trained and I had to catch up. And everyone's like, I've been producing for 3, 5, 6, 7 years. And I was like, oh my God, I literally just started. So you can imagine how overwhelming that is, to be in a room of really talented people. And you're like, how did they let me in? Imposter syndrome times 1,000. It was a huge adjustment. I haven't done something very hard in a long time. Obviously applying for new jobs is hard, doing stuff, but committing a whole year of your life for a new skill that's some next level stuff. Another really challenging thing for me was sharing my music when I got there. I honestly hadn't shared my music even to my best friend or my mom. Even sharing it to my husband was really, really hard for me. When I went up, it didn't feel like an out-of-body experience, but I definitely fight or flight kicking in. It was crazy. Every time I try to show my work, reality hit, and I was like, oh, it's actually just gonna be hard. And I don't have friends because, people there are 20 and super young, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it just didn't feel like we had a lot in common, so it was a little lonely when I was at school.
Hey, it's Editing Denver. I kind of just want to wrap up what quarter one and quarter two was. A lot of it was foundational building. These are the classes I took. My favorites were probably, in terms of just the material alone, is just groove theory because it was really relevant to kind of the disco funk vibes I was going for. Music theory was really helpful because I had no knowledge of music theory. Did I like it? No. A lot of the things I did not like, I'm going to be honest, but they were really important, I think, to make music. So I am grateful for that. And it really set a nice foundation for quarter three and quarter four. And I definitely felt like I was less behind when I got there. I'm going to be vulnerable with you guys and share some snippets from quarter one and quarter two with you. And just to show you kind of the growth, and please do not feel bad if you're looking at your own music and you're like, oh my God, I've been producing for whatever, I guess 6 months, and my music doesn't sound like this. Don't feel bad. Everybody's truly on their own journey. And I have been on the other side many times. This person just started and they are sick and I'm not there. Don't even look my way. And this is just to show you kind of where you can go and the growth that happens when you nurture your passions and the talent within you.
Watching my classmates make tracks bop 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 in a day, whatever, just ideas coming out of them, and they were really great. And it took me so long to just have one idea that I didn't hate. It was kind of a really frustrating and hard time for me, and definitely got caught up in the comparison trap. And it's hard not to. You share your work all the time at Icon, and it's never a competition, but sometimes with young boys it can be a playful competition. But I don't know, for me it wasn't maybe my favorite thing in the world sometimes, even though I know for the most part they're rooting for me. It sometimes can seem do we gotta play, do we have to play this game right now? I want like an environment that was like super supportive, uplifting for everyone's art. And sometimes it didn't feel like that. If I'm gonna be honest, it more felt like, oh, like this track is like so sick, and I'm like, I'm releasing this, and whose track is like the best. And it was supportive in a sense, but a lot of the time I felt there was like an underlying layer of competition. But at the end of quarter three, I was really, really feeling the burnout, and I just hit a wall, and I felt like I wanted to quit. Quit. I want to quit. Like, save me from my own inner monologue when I make music, because if you're creative, ugh, the things that like just like pop up when you're making stuff is crazy. Like, ugh, it sucks. Like, stop, da 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 da. And when I was at school, that's every single day. Every single day, there's a form of that popping up, and you have to kind of learn how to. Anyways, that's not even part of the script. Another thing that led to the exhaustion was the collaborations. Like collaborating with a new person every week and with the new schedule is a lot. There were a couple of things that did, I guess, come easy to me. Like, I would say arranging a song, and I think that I do owe that. I think I owe that a lot to my first quarter mentor. He really focused on arrangement, so I feel like throughout the year, my arrangement sense it was probably like pretty good. Um, but creativity and exhaustion were definitely the biggest two barriers for me. I tried to approach creativity kind of like I approached life sciences when I was in university and sales. I'm like 9 to 6, like this hour I'm doing this hour I'm doing this hour I'm doing this. And I could do that, but a lot of the time nothing came out. And what I found for me is like, I can't have a super rigid structure every single day because it doesn't help me. I need a day where I'm like, okay, you're going to hang out. You can start watching Netflix. You can just like hang, let your brain breathe. Like, I'm going to work on something, of course, but not having an hour by hour, minute by minute schedule. And that really helped. Having days where it's like more of a free day, and that's an environment that helps me flow, and finding environments that I feel comfortable in. I think I felt a lot of pressure to be in the studio, which is like really dark, and it kind of like smells. I'm gonna be honest. It smells because everyone's in there all the time. The ventilation kind of sucks. And with the exhaustion, I think that just came from having to push out so many songs. You don't really have time to think. And that kind of sucked a little bit. I understand that volume creates improvement over time, but after 7 months, I'm like, please let me just like take my time. And you always have so many assignments on the go, or you're trying to do this, you're trying to do that. Sometimes the pacing was, really intense. I really did see, I think, a lot of improvement in my third quarter. Felt like I was like, oh, okay, like things were like kind of click clacking. I don't even know if it was even gradual. Like, it's just one day I was like, okay, I'm kind of like a producer now. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm getting better slowly. I'm getting better slowly. It's more like, okay, I'm doing okay. And then, I don't know, something happened. I was like, okay, wait, I am a producer. Having that identity change was helpful, I would say. It takes time, so like, please don't pressure yourself into be like, I need to be like amazing. And sometimes I'm still in that trap. There were so many things I was not good at. Sound design, ear training. What else? The best classes for me were Ableton, plug-in, and signaling. A lot of things that were maybe software based. I think because it's very just information heavy, and I have like a brain that just like kind of soaks it up. That was pretty cool. Okay, one of my favorite courses. I don't even know if I'm going to use this. I feel like Studio Techniques was hard but kind of cool. Hard, but I felt like I was like, oh, I'm doing like real stuff. Like, I'm in the studio, I'm miking up drum sets, I'm miking up a bass, I'm doing all the fun routing. That was really cool. Wait, also, I really like Music Theory 4. Music Theory 4, Music Theory 3 and 4, I feel like unveiled a lot of cool things that were happening in songs that I listened to that I didn't know. Like, a lot of like secondary dominance, a course which I really did not like at all, but I feel really tremendously probably advanced my producer skills a lot. Ear training, it sucked. It was not enjoyable at all, but I think being able to at least have the knowledge that you can transcribe something. Like, I know I can transcribe some things versus not being able to transcribe at all, I think is a huge advantage, especially when you're listening to your references and want to understand what about it you like. So transcribing really helps that. Also, I think it really helps you like critically listen to what's going on. Like, is that an electronic kick? Is that a acoustic kick? Is it like really thumpy? Is it really subby? All those things are super helpful, especially when producing, and a lot of that comes from like ear training, which I did not like. Like, I just remembered a Saturday mornings, like the instructors at the piano playing, like, I don't know, is it a diminished fifth, the dominant, like playing these chords and be like, what is it? The instructor was great though. I don't want to say anything about the instructor, like, shout out, you were great. But I really despised ear training, even though it's really important. Another thing that was really nice was there's this group called Femme Frequency, where a lot of the women and women identifying people gathered, and that was just really nice to have that feminine energy around. I really wish there was more feminine energy around. There really wasn't that many. I think there was like 3 women-ish out of like the 30 people in the producer program. It was not a lot. If I'm wrong, like, let me know. Like, maybe there was more. Like, another shocking thing that I kind of learned was I kind of like songwriting. I was like, that's for the pop girlies. Like, I'm a producer, whatever. But it's kind of fun, kind of painful at times, but is a part of my creative brain that I wasn't expecting to like. So that was a fun surprise. Also, I sing now, so there's that. Another great thing that came out of Icon is that I had a mentor that really encouraged me to play instruments. So we have Keys Lab, obviously, but I guess I was encouraged to try the drums, play the bass, try the guitar. And I think that was really, really helpful because jamming really brings me a lot of joy and sometimes takes you out of your head, especially when you're producing in Ableton and you see the gray grid all the time. I'm like, ugh, get me out. Just like play like even badly. So like I can't play any of these instruments well. I just play badly, have fun, and I'm like, okay, now I feel like I'm in the right mood. Or sometimes I even come up with a good idea. Not a lot of time, but sometimes. How has my creative process changed this last year? It has changed a lot. Before, I felt like I was making a collage, just like grabbing samples, like kind of manipulating them, trying to figure it out, like what is a song? Now I definitely understand, like, I need a bass line, I need chords, I need a melody. Creating a more focused vision, perhaps. Like, I don't feel like I'm grabbing and just being like, pray. I feel like I'm actually like, like, I'm creating, let me start with the bass line. Oh, I don't like that. Let me try this again. Oh, like, let me try this. Like, I have more tools to access, be like, I want to jump the octave, versus being like, let's just pick notes in the scale and see what sounds good. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. But that's kind of the difference between me before and me now. I just have a little bit more knowledge, so I'm not, creating in the dark as much. Flying down the coast of Malibu, sipping on my ice cold Sprite, singing the songs that we both. After 365 days, I can confidently say I'm a music producer now, and I'm so excited to keep exploring. And if you want to come along for the journey, please subscribe to support me, and let me know if you're on a journey or a creative journey of your own in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.